So this is Paul from Sky 5, who do, well, maybe you can explain to us what Sky 5 does, because you'll do a better job of it than me.
Yeah, so it's a one-stop shop for everything height safety and rope access related, so everything from retail to auditing, consulting, rope access maintenance, facade cleaning and maintenance as well, and a bit of training here and there.
Yeah. And how big is Sky 5 now? How many staff on an average basis?
We went up to about 100 at one point, and we've just dropped back down a little bit to around the 85, 90 mark at the moment. Yeah. So we're in numerous states. We're in Victoria, we're in South Australia, we're in Queensland, we service Perth as well, and we've done a bit of work up north too. Yeah. But we're flying flat out for that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not that many big buildings up there.
No, not at all. But I thought that about Adelaide the first time I went there, and then recently I went back and it's just boomed.
It's all shot up. So now we were just trying to work out how many years you've been using Donesafe for. It's somewhere between 2 and 3. I'll have to confirm that.
Yep.
So what made you look for a system like Donesafe in the first place?
So with the merger of the two businesses that created Sky 5, and the compliance system we had in place for national height safety, so pre-Sky 5, it literally exploded overnight with the volume that we were now working to. So all of those documents were just a nightmare to keep track of and manage. So I looked into a cloud-based system, an online system. I reviewed a number of them. I even had a project management plan going for the different ones that we were reviewing and looking into, and Donesafe just ticked all the boxes for us at that point.
And obviously we've done a lot of work tweaking the system over the last couple of years to get it to the state that it's in now. Yeah. But you're one of the best examples of usage rate of using Donesafe.
Yep.
As far as active users in your system every month.
Yep.
So you have really good penetration into everybody in the business who actually uses the system. Is that just because they have to fill out those forms, or is it just some sort of... What do you think's is it just the decision by the business to make sure that this was going to work and sort of shove everyone down that path?
Yeah.
Or is it just like a combination of all of the...
So it's a really good culture within the business to begin with. And we got the buy-in early on from the guys, so we engaged them in that whole process. So we got feedback from them as to what was working, what wasn't. They were pretty frustrated with the volume of paperwork they were having to do before they started the job.
I remember some of those conversations.
Right. So when I gave the millennials this new option of using a device to do it, that was it. They were all over it, no problem at all. Yeah. And the rate of completion and compliance just went up significantly. And then we started getting feedback how we can tweak it and improve it, and then that helped. And then now it's part of our objectives and targets for our safety management as well, in the completion of all the different documents. So I can monitor that and track that and report back on it.
Yep.
So there's nowhere for them to hide. If they don't do it, it's their time and date stamped. Oh, I swear I did it. Well, clearly you didn't.
Yeah. And what has it meant for you as the National Safety Manager? Obviously it means it's easier to see if you're compliant.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So managing the states remotely, it just enables me to do that.
And it's live, obviously, so you can see
live in
every day, every morning, whether they've done their pre-start or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, but also on things like their site safety audits, I can review exactly what they've done and give them feedback as to what they should be looking for. Anything they do identify, I can then comment on as well and provide them some guidance on how they can manage that. So from a remote point of view, it just allows me that visibility on everything they're doing.
And has it helped you to push it out to some of their managers to make sure that they're doing their part in the process as well? So rather than you having to do everything for everybody.
Yeah, I remember that conversation we had. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because now I'm stepping back from the system and essentially micromanaging it, and it's now, these are your responsibilities, this is what you should be doing, and that's what I'm going to be monitoring and reporting back on. So now it goes to board level as well as to what each department has done and how compliant they've been.
Yeah.
So I'll work with them and advise them accordingly, and hopefully everyone picks up their game. We see a little bit of dipping, but we get them back online and improve the next time.
And obviously we've had some conversations obviously about how it's helped with your clients, because obviously there's not anyone else in your game in particular doing what you do. And one of the issues we have with some customers is being able to sell the fact that they do everything in the cloud, because some customers are not really au fait with the whole technology thing, and if they can't see the piece of paper, they think that it's not happening, or there's some sort of trickery being done here. But you guys have been very successful in getting the bigger company, because you work with big companies, obviously, getting them to see the value in what you do.
Absolutely. So one of the significant projects we're working on still is the Harbour Bridge. So we're currently installing the new access system there, so expanding it from 50% of the bridge to 100% of it. So going through all of the compliance requirements for that project was pretty substantial, and going through numerous third-party audits and meetings after meetings. One of the ones we did have was here, and we had Donesafe up on the wall on the big screen, and they said, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, "Well, that's our safety management system giving us data in real time. And I can show you now exactly where guys are working, whether they've been compliant or not." And they couldn't believe what they were seeing. It was unheard of and unknown in the industry.
It's good. It's good to. It's one of the things that I love about doing what I do, is to get it, to see it do stuff that hasn't been done before. You know, some companies use cloud-based systems that are good from a management point of view, but not really used out in the field. So they are a management tool, but not an implementation tool where the guys out on the front line are the ones using it all the time and doing it. So that's one of the reasons that I personally like Donesafe, is because it's an end user piece of software. It's not just for management to be able to tick their boxes. Everybody gets in, and
at every level in the business, my feedback to them is, this is a tool for you guys to use to do your job properly and evidence that you've done everything you're supposed to. And then there's no question, because you can show it to us and demonstrate it every time. If you don't do it, then that's a problem. One of the other examples that I normally tell people as well was a job that we had to do on Barangaroo, and it was a make safe job. And normally they don't allow people to abseil off that building because it's a Lend-Lease property and they've got their GMRs and risk ratings and whatever. But they couldn't get the BMU out because it was too windy, so we went down there to do the rope access. And normally what takes a bit of time to get compliance over the line with the review of the swims and everything else, we did it all through Donesafe, and we exported the documents and emailed it to them, gave them the swims, completed everything on site. So from phone call to getting over the edge, it was about 15 to 20 minutes. And the management said, "Oh, so have you done all of your safety requirements?" I went, "Yep, no, they all are. Job done." And he couldn't believe it.
Wow. That just a shocking story. I hear a lot of reverse stories of that, about Lend-Lease and those bigger companies where getting stuff across the line is ridiculously hard. So
well, when they've got things hanging off their building,
it's motivation. So, and you guys have started to move into your training and onboarding systems as well, in using Donesafe, trying to capture all that information. And so obviously it's more, one of the interesting things for me about Donesafe is that it does much more than just the safety part. So you can really capture all sorts of different parts of your business into that system in a whole variety of different ways, and then get it all to talk to each other. So obviously when we started to map out your onboarding process, that in itself was an interesting exercise, because there were a few instances where the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. And one of the things I find interesting is that whole getting people to actually map out a process inside their business, which is what we did with your job cards. It started off as a whole lots of bits of paper, but really it's actually a process that runs every time you go to a job. There's a process, there's lots of ifs and maybes and buts in the process, but it is one long process that has to be signed off. And so your onboarding process is basically the same thing, just a different type of process.
But what it allowed us to do though as well was, because our induction is pretty substantial. It's not just to sit in front of a computer and
It's
hit
a bit
these
more
boxes.
than a normal company's induction.
It's a bit more, yeah. So it is a full-on day initially, and then what we then went on to do was create a 3-month training probation plan, where the guys, if they were coming in and they weren't quite technicians yet, they had to complete that.
That's right, they have to get signed off at different
Right.
stages.
Keeping track of that was proving difficult. People forgot to sign them off for things, and then you get to the end of 3 months and they'll say, I want to be a technician now, that means an increase in wages. It's like, well, have you done this, this and this? Oh, well, the supervisor didn't sign it, but I definitely did it.
Yep.
What now they can do is access it all through their smartphone, out in the field, and if there's things that the manager has told them to concentrate on and complete with them, they can now tick and say, yeah, it's done.
Yep.
So the manager can then review it to see whether you did it or not, and if it's all complete and it's all there and signed for, then it's happy days.
And that's been working, because I haven't actually been back and had a look at that since we implemented it. So
and it's funny because at first, when it becomes a chore and a problem for people because it's additional responsibilities or something to remember, all of a sudden they see the value in it and they see how actually useful it is, and now it becomes mandatory. And they're shouting at me if things haven't been done or whatever. And I'm like, right, okay, cool.
I did notice that we here, especially once people started to really use it, we got a lot more feedback on, I want this fixed and we can have that in there, and we put that in there, and all, it became and it was almost like once it got to a critical mass of people using it, it really just
snowballed.
Which is great because it shows the usage of the system, and that's really the key part. So now you guys are triple certified, so, and you obviously don't use this to cover all the bases of your triple certification, but it obviously makes that process a whole lot easier when you've got to supply evidence to an auditor or something like that, as far as the components that are in there.
Yeah, so the last surveillance we did was the first time that we showed them and demonstrated Donesafe, and he was blown away by it. He said, oh, this is fantastic. Like everything he asked for, all the evidence that he required was just a touch of a button. There it is. How many do you want, mate? They're all there. Not fumbling through some files in a cupboard somewhere trying to find that incident report for them.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Because it translates as well and talks back to our operations management system. And that traceability on that job number is all the way through both. Yeah, it's really easy to pull out all that data that you require. Yeah,
you can actually show a trail right from the time when the job came into the business right through until it's closed out completely.
Yeah, so because our system's integrated, that's what our auditing process follows as well. Yeah. So I'll literally take a job from start, from quote to finish and compliance completion.
Yeah. Too easy. Anything else you want to add, or?
No, just a massive.
All my questions.
no. Just a massive thank you for your support and guidance through the whole process. And if anyone needs any kind of feedback from me, from my point of view, I'm happy to give it.
Well, I'm happy that we could help. You've been a very helpful guinea pig along the whole way. So, because we have tried some stuff with you guys, that was the first time we tried to do that sort of stuff with Donesafe. So it is good to, people say that we're a good company, but a lot of times you need a good customer to help you do those things, because not every customer's in that situation where they can, we can, not use you as a guinea pig, because that's probably not the right word, but to try different things and see if it's going to work out in the real world, because doing something in theory is very different from making it work. And in your case, on the top of a 80-story building, where in the real world where lives depend on it happening, it's good to know, especially if you're an office-based company and you never have to do any of that high-risk stuff. It works in that kind of environment. So for it to then be able to work in a much lesser risk environment is a much easier process. So,
but equally as well, that when we have a management meeting and we come up with a new requirement or something that needs doing, I'll flick it to you, and it's normally done within minutes, or at least within 24 hours, and then it's done, ready to be implemented, and I'm already giving them feedback as to jump in and use it, it's good to go.
And now you guys run all your meetings through Donesafe, which is the latest thing to go in there.
And it's keeping that momentum going as well, because if we gave it to other third parties that we use and we don't get any response or feedback for weeks sometimes, then you lose that momentum and,
Yes.
and that drive on what you're trying to achieve.
Well, and one of the things that I've personally found with Donesafe and with this whole process is if you give people some ownership of the system where they can have direct feedback and see change and then be able to use that, it really gets them on board to a much heavier degree than what they would be if it was just, that's the system and you just have to use it the way it is. People have seemed very reluctant to buy in completely in that situation, whereas if they can come back and say, like, we've changed around a lot of your forms a few times based on usability of that, and so now people have, well, I don't think we've had a complaint for a fair while about the usability side of it, so all the forms fit together the way that you would use them in the real world now. But that's a hard thing for us to figure out. We need feedback to be able to do that. So
I think the whole approach at every level has been a consultative approach rather than a dictatorship, and that, just like you said, just gets that engagement.
Well, and that's why you've got like 80 user licenses or whatever, and each month you've got more than 60 people who log into Donesafe and use it. So that's when I say your usage level is very high for the ratio of employees to the logins, so which is really impressive from our side of things. We've got other companies with hundreds of user licenses who have 20 people log in each month, so it's not always like that, but it's a good example to show people of what is possible if you get everyone to buy in at the start. So
Absolutely.
all right, thanks very much.
Awesome. Cheers.